Get your broke ass off my property before I have you arrested." The words, laced with venom, were spat from the lips of Liam O'Connell, the night manager of the Pinnacle Hotel, a gleaming monument to New York City's opulence. He snatched the platinum card from Amelia Voss's hand and flung it to the polished marble floor. His expensive Italian loafer ground the card into the stone, the sound a sickening crunch under his heel. "This is a disgrace," he announced to the hushed lobby, his voice a theatrical boom. "Take whatever counterfeit trash you're peddling and crawl back to the gutter you came from." The receptionist, a young woman named Chloe with a nervous giggle, chimed in. "Should I call security, Liam? That thing probably has fentanyl on it." Amelia stood motionless, her worn combat boots firmly planted on the floor. Her ripped jeans and faded band t-shirt, it seemed, were a personal affront to their delicate sensibilities. The grand lobby clock, a monstrosity of gold and crystal, displayed the time in glowing digits, 10:58 p.m. In this moment, under the soft glow of a $1,000 chandelier, two employees were blissfully unaware that they were systematically dismantling their own futures, one hateful syllable at a time. Have you ever been treated like garbage in a place you secretly owned? Amelia bent down, her movements deliberate, and retrieved her battered card. The metal was still warm from the friction of Liam's shoe. She slipped it back into her weathered leather satchel without a word. "I have a reservation for the Celestial Suite," she stated, her voice a low, steady hum. She placed her phone on the marble countertop, the confirmation email glowing on the screen. The Pinnacle Hotel, Celestial Suite 7201. Guest, Amelia Voss. Liam barely gave it a glance. "Anyone with a cheap laptop can whip up a fake email. Do you take us for fools?" Beside him, Chloe's fingers danced across her keyboard. "I'm checking the system now," she announced with an air of importance. A moment later, her brow furrowed. "There is an Amelia Voss registered," she admitted, her eyes darting from Amelia to Liam. "But this can't be right." "What can't be right?" Amelia asked, her voice dangerously quiet. "Well, the real Amelia Voss would be—" Chloe trailed off, gesturing vaguely as if to encompass the entire opulent lobby. "You know, significant." Liam leaned over the counter, his voice dripping with condescension. "Let me spell it out for you, sweetheart. This is a 7-star establishment. We cater to tech billionaires, Hollywood royalty, international dignitaries. Take a look around." He gestured dramatically at the soaring ceilings, the original Picassos adorning the walls, the hand-carved mahogany desk. "Do you see anyone else here who looks like they just crawled out of a back alley?" Amelia glanced at her phone. 11:03 p.m. 7 minutes. 7 minutes until her scheduled video conference with the board of directors of Omnicorp, a multinational conglomerate she had built from the ground up. 7 minutes to finalize a $1 billion acquisition that had been 6 months in the making. The atmosphere in the lobby began to shift as other guests took notice of the escalating confrontation. An elderly couple, dripping in diamonds and old money, whispered behind perfectly manicured hands. A hedge fund manager in a bespoke suit paused his phone call to watch the unfolding drama. A young woman, a social media influencer named Isabella Rossi, discreetly began filming on her phone, her whispered commentary a running stream of outrage on her Instagram live feed. "You guys are not going to believe the blatant racism happening at the Pinnacle right now. This is absolutely disgusting." The viewer count on her feed began to tick upward. 12, 58, 212. Liam, emboldened by his perceived audience, turned his attention back to Amelia. "I've been in the luxury hospitality industry for 15 years, he declared, puffing out his chest. "I can spot a con artist a mile away. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak, that cheap bag you're clutching. It's all wrong." He pointed a trembling finger at her combat boots. "You know what those boots tell me?" They tell me you ride the subway. They tell me you eat street vendor hot dogs. They tell me the only time you've ever been in a place like this is to clean the toilets." Chloe tittered behind her hand. "Liam, you're awful," she simpered. "But you're not wrong." Amelia's hand moved to her satchel, her fingers brushing against the edge of her first-class ticket to Geneva, a flight that would seal the Omnicorp deal. Next to it lay her real black card, the one Liam had just desecrated. "I understand you have a job to do," Amelia said, her voice still infuriatingly calm. "But I really need to check in." Liam's laughter was a sharp, ugly bark. "Oh, the busy little bee. I've got time, all the time in the world to educate you on the realities of life." He leaned in closer, his breath a foul combination of stale coffee and self-importance. "This isn't a homeless shelter where you can just wander in and make demands. This is private property, and I am its protector." Just then, a woman in a sharply tailored suit emerged from a back office, a stack of reports in her arms. It was the assistant manager, Evelyn Reed. Liam immediately seized her arm, his voice a booming proclamation. "Evelyn, thank God you're here. We have a situation. This person is trying to scam her way into the Celestial Suite with a forged reservation and a sob story." Evelyn's gaze swept over Amelia, a silent, withering judgment. Her lip curled in distaste as she took in the ripped jeans, the faded t-shirt, the worn satchel. "Ma'am," she began, her voice a clipped, officious tone. "I'm going to need to see some form of government-issued identification. And it better be real, because we will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law." Isabella's live stream viewer count had now surpassed 500. The comments were a torrent of outrage. "This is 2025, and this is still happening. Someone needs to call the corporate office of the Pinnacle right now. The Pinnacle NYC, your staff is a disgrace. This woman is handling this with more grace than I ever could." Amelia produced her driver's license. Evelyn scrutinized it as if it were a counterfeit bill, holding it up to the light, checking the hologram, even giving it a suspicious sniff. "This could be a fake," she declared to the lobby. "Identity theft is a rampant problem. Liam, maybe we should just call the police and let them sort this out." Liam nodded sagely. "An excellent idea. We can't be too careful. The lengths some people will go to for a taste of the good life." He pulled out his phone and began to dial, a smug smile playing on his lips. "NYPD? Yes, this is Liam O'Connell, the night manager at the Pinnacle. We have a suspected case of fraud." The clock on the wall now read 11:06 p.m., 4 minutes remaining. Amelia watched Liam's theatrical performance, his feigned concern for the hotel's security. She noted the way he kept glancing at the other guests, preening under their attention. This wasn't just about discrimination. It was a power trip, and he was savoring every moment. Chloe leaned over to Evelyn. "Should I go ahead and cancel the reservation for the Celestial Suite? We can open it up for a legitimate guest." "Absolutely," Evelyn replied, without a moment's hesitation. "There's no point in holding a room for someone who clearly can't afford a cup of coffee here, let alone a $10,000 a night suite." Amelia's phone buzzed. A text from her chief operating officer. "Omnicorp is on the line. Are you ready to make history?" She looked up at Liam and Evelyn, who stood with their arms crossed, a human wall of prejudice and ignorance. Behind them, Chloe was already typing, no doubt erasing Amelia's existence from their system. Across the lobby, Isabella's live stream had exploded, the viewer count now in the thousands. The comments were a blur of anger and support, but the damage was already done. The Pinnacle's reputation was being torched in real time, and they were the ones holding the matches. "I'm ready," Amelia whispered to herself, a grim smile touching her lips. The clock on the wall now read 11:07 p.m. Liam, sensing his moment of triumph was at hand, beckoned to a shadowy corner of the lobby. "Marcus, get over here. We need you." A towering figure emerged from the shadows. It was Marcus Thorne, the head of security, a man whose imposing presence was usually enough to quell any disturbance. He was a man who had seen it all in his 20 years in the business, but as he approached the scene, a knot of unease tightened in his stomach. Something about this felt wrong. "What's the problem, Liam?" Marcus asked, his gaze falling on Amelia. There was something familiar about her, a flicker of recognition he couldn't quite place. "We've got a grifter trying to pull a fast one," Liam explained, his voice dripping with self-satisfaction. "Fake reservation, fake credit card, the whole 9 yards. She's been holding up the front desk for the last half hour, refusing to leave." He gestured dramatically at Amelia. "Look at her, Marcus. Does she look like she belongs in the Celestial Suite? I mean, for God's sake, just look at her." Marcus looked at Amelia, and for the first time that night, someone actually saw her. He saw the intelligence in her eyes, the quiet strength in her posture, the unwavering resolve in her gaze. "Ma'am," he began, his voice a respectful rumble, "I'm going to have to ask you to come with me." "Officer Thorne," Amelia said quietly, her eyes flicking to his name tag. "Before you do that, I would strongly advise you to consult your employee handbook. Section 7, subsection B, to be precise." Marcus paused, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. "What are you talking about?" "Just check it," she repeated, her voice a low, steady hum. Liam rolled his eyes. "She's trying to distract you with legal mumbo-jumbo. Classic scammer move. They watch a few YouTube videos on tenants' rights and suddenly they think they're a lawyer." Isabella's live stream had now reached a staggering 3,000 viewers. "This is insane," she whispered into her phone. "They're calling security on this woman for absolutely no reason. The racism is so thick you could cut it with a knife." The comments were a torrent of fury. "Record everything! The Pinnacle is about to get cancelled! Someone call the news! The hashtag Dr. Pinnacle racism is trending! I'm never staying at a Pinnacle hotel ever again!" Evelyn, who had been scrolling through Amelia's fake reservation on her phone, suddenly let out a small gasp. "This is surprisingly detailed," she murmured, a frown creasing her brow. "The confirmation number format is correct. The corporate account information is accurate, but it can't be real because—" She gestured vaguely at Amelia. "Because of, well, you know." "It's not fake," Amelia said simply. "Of course it's not," Evelyn sneered. "And I'm the Queen of England. Liam, call the police. This is clearly a case of criminal fraud." Liam was in his element now, playing to the crowd. "You know what I love about my job?" he boomed, his voice echoing through the lobby. "Protecting our esteemed guests from the dregs of society who think they can just waltz in here and demand a handout." He gestured toward the elderly couple, who were now looking increasingly uncomfortable. "Mr. and Mrs. Vanderbilt have been loyal patrons of the Pinnacle for over 2 decades. They pay a premium for a certain level of exclusivity. They expect a certain standard. Mr. Vanderbilt, a man who looked as if he had been chiseled from a block of granite and disapproval, nodded his assent." Liam continued his soliloquy, his voice rising with each word. "But then you get people like this," he said, pointing a trembling finger at Amelia, "who think they can just stroll in here with their counterfeit documents and their entitlement, demanding a suite that costs more than they'll make in a lifetime. It's an insult to our real guests. It's an insult to this entire establishment." He pointed at her satchel. "You see that bag? I've seen better luggage in a dumpster. And those boots? Those are the boots of a common laborer, not a captain of industry." Chloe giggled from behind the counter. "Liam, you're so wicked." "But he's not wrong," Evelyn added, a smug smile on her face. "Maybe she's the one who owns this place," a voice called out from across the lobby. Everyone turned to see a young man in a tailored suit striding toward them. He had just entered through the revolving doors, a briefcase with the logo of a prestigious law firm in his hand. Liam's face contorted in a mask of fury. "Excuse me, sir, but this is a private matter." "A private matter?" The man laughed, his eyes sweeping over the crowd of onlookers and the sea of glowing cell phone screens. "Half of New York City is watching this on Instagram Live right now. This is about as private as a Times Square New Year's Eve party." Marcus stepped between them. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to—" "To what? Stand in the lobby of a public hotel? I'm a guest here too, officer. Suite 4217. I've been here for a week on business." He flashed his room key at Marcus. "And in that week, I have never witnessed a more disgusting display of bigotry and ignorance in my entire life." Liam's confidence began to falter. He hadn't counted on this. "Sir, you don't understand the situation. This woman is a fraud." "What I understand," the lawyer replied, his voice a calm, measured tone, "is that you've been harassing this woman for the last half an hour without a shred of evidence. What I understand is that your entire case against her is based on her appearance." More guests were gathering now, drawn by the escalating drama. A family with 2 teenage children watched with a mixture of curiosity and disgust. A young couple, clearly on their honeymoon, whispered to each other while filming with their phones. Amelia glanced at her phone. 11:09 p.m. 1 minute until the Omnicorp call. Evelyn, who was still fiddling with Amelia's phone, suddenly went pale. "Liam," she whispered, her voice a strangled gasp. "We might have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "I just got a text from corporate. They're asking about a situation, a discrimination complaint." Liam waved a dismissive hand. "It's probably just a routine inquiry. Don't worry about it." But Evelyn's hands were shaking as she continued to read. "No, Liam. This is about us. About tonight. About the New York City location. They're monitoring social media and—" "And what?" Liam snapped. "And it's trending," the lawyer called out. "The hashtag #TorturePinnacle Racism is the #1 trending topic in the city right now." Isabella's live stream had now reached a staggering 10,000 viewers. The story had been picked up by several local news outlets, and the comments were a tidal wave of outrage. Marcus was now reading something on his own phone, his expression growing more and more troubled. "Liam," he said slowly, "I think we need to take a step back and reassess this." "Are you kidding me?" Liam sputtered. "We're not going to let some criminal dictate hotel policy." "It's not about her," Marcus replied, his voice a low, urgent whisper. "It's about the fact that corporate is watching, and that section of the employee handbook she mentioned. I'm looking at it right now." He held up his phone, showing Liam the screen. "Section 7, subsection B, immediate termination for discriminatory behavior." Liam's jaw tightened. "I don't care if the President of the United States is watching. This is my hotel, and I make the decisions." "Actually," Chloe piped up, her voice a small, frightened squeak, "that's not entirely accurate. There have been a few complaints." Liam spun around. "What are you talking about?" "There have been 32 formal complaints filed against this location in the last quarter," Chloe admitted, her eyes wide with fear. "And most of them were about you." The lobby fell silent. The only sound was the soft, incessant ping of Isabella's live stream notifications. Amelia looked around at the faces in the lobby. The elderly couple was now whispering with a sense of urgency. The lawyer was filming with his own phone now. The family with the teenagers was openly staring. Isabella was practically bouncing in her seat as her viewer count soared past 12,000. The clock on the wall now read 11:10 p.m. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Amelia reached into her satchel and pulled out a leather-bound portfolio. "Officer Thorne," she said, her voice a calm, clear bell in the silent lobby. "That section of the employee handbook. I think you should read it out loud." Marcus, his face a grim mask, cleared his throat and began to read from his phone. Section 7, Subsection B. Any employee found to be engaging in discriminatory behavior, including but not limited to harassment based on race, gender, religion, or perceived socioeconomic status, will be subject to immediate termination without severance. Furthermore, the employee may be held personally liable for any and all damages to the company's reputation and brand. Liam's face went from red to a sickly, pale white. "Why are you reading that?" he stammered. Amelia opened her portfolio, her movements slow and deliberate, the actions of a master magician about to reveal her greatest trick. She placed a single sheet of paper on the marble countertop. The Pinnacle Hotel Group letterhead gleamed under the soft light of the chandeliers. Liam squinted at the document. What is this?" "Your quarterly performance review," Amelia said softly. "Revenue is down 32% in the last quarter. Guest satisfaction is at an all-time low of 1.8 stars. And your staff turnover rate is a staggering 92%. She pointed to a line on the report. Average nightly occupancy is at 58%. The industry standard for a luxury hotel in this city is 90%. Your hotel is hemorrhaging money." Evelyn leaned over Liam's shoulder, her face a mask of disbelief. How do you have this? This is confidential corporate information." Amelia reached into her portfolio again and produced a business card. The lettering was simple, elegant, and devastating. "Amelia Voss, Chief Executive Officer, Voss Enterprises." Liam stared at the card as if it were a venomous snake. I don't understand." "Let me help you with that," Amelia said, pulling out her tablet. She swiped to a screen and turned it around for everyone to see. It was the About Us page of the Pinnacle Hotel Group's corporate website. And there, smiling back at them, was Amelia Voss. The same face, the same woman, but in a tailored power suit instead of ripped jeans and a faded band t-shirt. The caption below the photo read, "Amelia Voss, majority shareholder. Voss Enterprises acquired the Pinnacle Hotel Group for $12.7 billion on June 1, 2025. Ms. Voss now holds a 78% ownership stake in the global luxury hotel chain." The silence in the lobby was so profound you could have heard a pin drop. And then, the dam broke. Isabella's live stream chat exploded. "OMG! She owns the whole damn hotel!" "No freaking way! Liam is so fired! I am living for this! This is better than any reality TV show! Someone get Liam a medic, I think he's having a heart attack." Liam's legs gave out from under him. He gripped the marble counter to keep from collapsing, his knuckles white against the dark stone. That's impossible. You can't be." "I can't be what, Liam?" Amelia asked, her voice still a calm, cool river. "I can't be a self-made billionaire? I can't own a multi-billion-dollar corporation? I can't afford to stay in the celestial suite of my own hotel?" She gestured to her simple attire. "Or do you just mean I can't look like this and still be your boss's boss?" Marcus took a step back, his hand instinctively going to his radio. Not to call for backup, but because his training was screaming at him that he had just witnessed a career-ending catastrophe. Evelyn's mouth opened and closed like a dying fish. "Ma'am, if we had known, there was no way you weren't wearing—" "I wasn't wearing what?" Amelia interrupted, her voice gentle but firm. "A sign that said, billionaire? A diamond tiara? What is the official uniform for a successful black woman to be treated with a basic level of human decency in her own establishment?" The lawyer from Suite 4217 began to clap, a slow, deliberate applause that echoed through the stunned lobby. "Best damn hotel drama I've ever seen," he declared, "and I've seen a lot." Other guests began to pull out their phones, realizing they were witnessing a truly historic moment. The elderly couple looked utterly mortified. The family with the teenagers was now openly recording. Chloe, who had been frantically typing on her computer, let out a small, strangled sob. Oh my God, it's real. The reservation is real. It was paid for a year in advance. She looked up at Amelia, her eyes swimming with tears. The payment was made from a Voss Enterprises corporate account for $1,825,000 for a one-year lease of the Celestial Suite. I should have checked. Liam's voice was a cracked, broken whisper. Ma'am, if you had just told us who you were. I did tell you who I was, Amelia replied, her tone unwavering. I told you I was Amelia Voss. I told you I had a reservation. You were the one who decided I was lying. She pulled another document from her portfolio. This is the acquisition agreement. June 1st, 2025. Voss Enterprises purchased the Pinnacle Hotel Group for $12.7 billion in cash. We now own 247 properties in 42 countries. She pointed to Liam's name tag. Liam O'Connell, employee number 8832. You work for me. She turned to Evelyn. Evelyn Reed, employee number 7741. You work for me. She looked at Chloe. Chloe Miller, employee number 9992. You work for me. Liam tried to pull himself together, to salvage some shred of dignity. Ma'am, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. If you could just... Amelia held up a hand. The only misunderstanding, Liam, was yours. You assumed that a woman who looked like me couldn't possibly belong in your world. You made that assumption in front of a lobby full of witnesses, on a live stream that has now been viewed by over 20,000 people, and with a level of arrogance that I find truly breathtaking. She checked her phone. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have a $1 billion acquisition to finalize. Her phone rang. The caller ID displayed Omnicorp Board of Directors. She answered, her eyes never leaving Liam's. Yes, Mr. Chairman, she said, her voice a calm, confident purr. I'm ready to proceed. I was just in the middle of a corporate restructuring. I'll have the full report on your desk by morning. She paused, a small smile playing on her lips. Yes, the assets are being liquidated as we speak. I'm confident that this will be a very profitable quarter for all of us. Liam's face had gone from a sickly white to a shade of green that matched the hotel's potted plants. Evelyn was now openly sobbing behind the counter. Marcus stood frozen, a statue of regret and disbelief. Amelia ended the call and looked around the lobby. The crowd had now grown to over 30 people, all of them filming, all of them witnessing the fall of the arrogant and the rise of the underestimated. Now, Amelia said, opening her laptop and connecting it to the large screen behind the reception desk. Let's talk about your severance packages, or more accurately, the lack thereof. The Pinnacle Hotel Group logo filled the screen, followed by a presentation titled Operational Restructuring and Hostile Takeover, a Case Study. Let me share a few numbers with you, Amelia began, her voice the calm, measured tone of a CEO addressing her board. This wasn't about revenge. This was about a hostile takeover, and she was the one holding all the cards. Liam stared at the screen, his world crumbling around him. The first slide was a stark, brutal assessment of his performance. The numbers were even worse than she had initially stated. Revenue was down 42%. Guest satisfaction was at 1.2 stars. The hotel was losing over $1 million a week. These numbers, Amelia continued, her voice a cool, dispassionate narrator of his failure, tell a story of mismanagement, of incompetence, and of a culture of toxicity that has permeated every level of this establishment. Evelyn, her face a mess of smeared mascara and tears, gripped the marble counter as if it were a life raft. She had seen the reports, but to see them laid bare like this, in front of the entire world, was a new level of humiliation. "Liam O'Connell," Amelia said, turning to face him. "Night manager, employee number 8832. Annual salary, $150,000. In the last year, there have been 147 formal complaints filed against you, for harassment, for discrimination, for verbal abuse." Liam's face was ashen. That's a lie. I would have been notified." "You were," Amelia replied, clicking to the next slide. "There are 82 written warnings in your employee file. Your supervisor attempted to intervene on 17 separate occasions. Your last performance review gave you a score of 0.8 out of 5 stars. She paused, letting the weight of his failure settle in the silent lobby. "Your department has the lowest guest satisfaction scores in our entire global portfolio. Guests have described you as arrogant, racist, a bully, and a stain on the hospitality industry." Isabella's live stream had now reached a staggering 50,000 viewers. The comments were a blur of vindication and schadenfreude. "He's getting everything he deserves. This is the best thing I've ever seen. She's not just firing him, she's dissecting him. The queen of receipts." Amelia turned her attention to Evelyn. "Evelyn Reed, assistant manager, employee number 7741. Annual salary, $180,000. 98 guest complaints in the last year. 12 failed mystery shopper evaluations. Your diversity and inclusion training is 2 years overdue. Your customer service certification expired 18 months ago, and there are 14 documented instances of you using racial slurs against other employees." Evelyn let out a small, strangled sob. She had thought her transgressions were hidden, buried in a mountain of corporate paperwork. She had never imagined they would be broadcast to the world. "The problem here," Amelia continued, her voice a calm, steady scalpel, "is not a few isolated incidents. It is a systemic, deeply ingrained culture of bigotry and entitlement that has been allowed to fester and grow like a cancer at the heart of this hotel." She walked closer to the counter, her presence now commanding the entire lobby. "When I acquired the Pinnacle Hotel Group 6 months ago, this New York City location was flagged as our most toxic asset. Our legal team estimated our potential liability from pending lawsuits at over $50 million. Liam tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. "There are currently 12 federal lawsuits pending against this hotel for discrimination," Amelia continued, her voice unwavering. "Our attorneys have advised me to settle out of court for a sum that could exceed $100 million, and that was before tonight." She gestured to Isabella's phone, still streaming to the world. "After this little performance, which has now been witnessed by over 50,000 people, our legal exposure has skyrocketed. You haven't just embarrassed yourselves. You've cost this company hundreds of millions of dollars." The lawyer from Suite 1417 shook his head in awe. "I've been a corporate lawyer for 25 years, he murmured to the person standing next to him. "And I have never seen a more brilliant, more ruthless, more justified corporate execution in my entire life." Amelia advanced to the next slide, a detailed organizational chart. "Liam O'Connell reports to the regional manager, who reports to the Vice President of North American Operations, who reports to the Executive Vice President of Global Operations, who reports directly to me." She let that sink in for a moment. "When you disrespected me tonight, you weren't just insulting a guest. You were publicly and profoundly humiliating the person who signs your paychecks. Every single person watching this live stream now associates the Pinnacle brand with racism, with bigotry, with everything that is wrong with the world." Liam's hands were shaking so violently he had to hide them behind his back. "Ma'am, please, I have a family, a mortgage. I didn't know." "You didn't know I was the owner," Amelia finished for him. "But you did know I was a human being. You made a choice, Liam. You made a choice to treat me with contempt, to humiliate me, to degrade me, based on nothing more than the color of my skin and the clothes on my back. She clicked to the Employee Handbook section again. Section 7, Subsection B, Immediate termination without severance, and personal liability for reputational damages. I have a team of lawyers who will be in touch with you tomorrow to discuss the specifics of that. She closed her laptop and walked to the center of the lobby, a solitary, powerful figure under the glittering chandeliers. Liam O'Connell, Evelyn Reed, you have 2 choices, and you will make them now. She held up one finger. Choice 1. You resign, effective immediately. You walk out of this hotel tonight and you never come back. I will provide you with a neutral employment reference that does not mention the events of this evening. You will be able to salvage what little is left of your professional reputations. 2 fingers. Choice 2. You are terminated for cause. This incident will be a permanent stain on your employment records. No references. And I will pursue civil litigation against you for the damages you have caused to my brand. Every future employer who does a background check on you will see the words, terminated for gross misconduct and discriminatory behavior. Your careers in the hospitality industry, or any other industry for that matter, will be over. The lobby was so quiet you could hear the blood pounding in your ears. You have 30 seconds to decide, Amelia announced, her voice as cold and hard as the marble floor. I have a multi-billion-dollar corporation to run, and I don't have time for a protracted negotiation. Liam's voice was a choked, desperate whisper. Ma'am, surely there's another way, a way to handle this with more discretion. Discretion? Amelia's laughter was a short, sharp bark. You want discretion now? After you publicly humiliated me in front of the entire world? You had your chance for discretion, Liam. You chose to make this a spectacle, and now you will reap what you have sown. She pulled a thick file from her portfolio. This, she said, her voice a low, dangerous growl, is a record of every single complaint that has ever been filed against you. Most of these people didn't have the resources to fight you. They didn't have the power to hold you accountable. But I do. She opened the file, a cascade of paper and ink, a testament to his cruelty. Guest after guest, employee after employee, all telling the same story. A story of a petty tyrant who abused his power, who bullied his subordinates, and who treated his guests with a level of contempt that is truly breathtaking. Evelyn, her face a mask of desperation, stepped forward. Ms. Voss, I am so sorry. I was just following Liam's lead. I never meant for any of this to happen. You are both grown adults who made your own choices, Amelia replied, her voice devoid of sympathy. You chose to treat me like garbage. The fact that I happen to own the garbage truck is just a beautiful, poetic irony. Chloe, who had been hiding behind the counter, finally found her voice. What about me, ma'am? Am I fired too? Amelia turned to the young woman, her expression unreadable. Chloe, you are 22 years old. You made a mistake, a terrible mistake. You chose to follow the lead of 2 very bad people. The question is, what will you do now? Will you learn from this? Or will you spend the rest of your life as a bystander, a silent accomplice to the casual cruelty of the world? Marcus, who had been standing by the door, a silent, stoic witness to the entire ordeal, stepped forward. Ma'am, what about me? I was about to escort you from the premises. Amelia nodded. Marcus, you hesitated. You questioned. You showed a glimmer of decency in a sea of depravity. You have a choice to make as well. You can help me clean up this mess, or you can walk away. But if you stay, you will be a part of the solution, not the problem. The clock on the wall struck midnight. Time's up, Amelia announced, her voice a final, irrevocable judgment. Liam O'Connell, your decision. Liam's voice was a barely audible whisper. I resign. He fumbled with his name tag. his hands shaking so violently he could barely unclip it. He placed it on the marble counter, a small, pathetic symbol of his surrender. Amelia nodded once. Evelyn Reed. I resign, she choked out, her voice thick with tears. She, too, placed her name tag on the counter, a final act of humiliation. Your apologies are noted, Amelia said, her voice as cold as a winter morning. But they are not accepted. Chloe Miller, your choice. Chloe wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I want to learn, she said, her voice small but firm. I want to be better. I don't ever want to be the person I was tonight. Amelia studied the young woman for a long moment. Learning is a painful process, Chloe. Are you prepared for that? Yes, ma'am, she replied without hesitation. I am. Marcus Thorne, your decision. Marcus stood a little taller. I want to help you fix this, ma'am. What happened here tonight? It should never happen again. Not to anyone. For the first time that night, a genuine smile touched Amelia's lips. It transformed her face, melting away the years of struggle and revealing the brilliant, resilient woman beneath. Then let's get to work, she said, opening her laptop again. Liam and Evelyn, two ghosts in expensive clothes, gathered their belongings and shuffled out of the lobby, their careers in tatters, their lives forever changed. Amelia projected a new presentation onto the screen. The Pinnacle Restoration Project, a new era of hospitality. Chloe Marcus, she began, her voice now filled with a new energy, a new purpose. You are about to be a part of the most ambitious, most radical, most necessary corporate turnaround in the history of the hospitality industry. What we do here tonight will be the new gold standard for every single one of our 1,247 properties around the world. Isabella's live stream had now reached a staggering 100,000 viewers. The story had gone viral, a global phenomenon. The hashtag #LauncherPinnacleRacism had been replaced by a new one. The Pinnacle Restoration. First, Amelia announced, effective immediately, a complete overhaul of our management team. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number. Jasmine, she said, her voice warm and friendly. It's Amelia. I know it's late, but I need you to get on the next flight to New York. I have a new project for you, a passion project. She put the call on speakerphone. Jasmine, I'm at the New York City location. We've had a situation. I need you to take over as the new general manager. Full autonomy. You have my complete and total support. Jasmine Washington? Marcus whispered to Chloe. She's a legend in the industry. She turned around the Dubai property in 6 months. Boston can spare her for a few months, Amelia said into the phone. New York is a dumpster fire. I also need you to contact Dr. Angela Davis, the real Dr. Angela Davis. I want her to lead our new diversity and inclusion initiative. I want her to design a curriculum that is so radical, so transformative, that it will make every other corporate training program look like a kindergarten coloring book. She hung up and turned back to Chloe and Marcus. Jasmine Washington is a 25-year veteran of the hospitality industry. She also happens to be a black woman. She is the best in the business, and she will be your new boss. Chloe's eyes went wide. Ma'am, will I be working under her? If you earn it, Amelia replied. Your employment is on a probationary basis. For the next 6 months, you will undergo the most intensive, most rigorous, most soul-crushing training program of your life. You will learn about unconscious bias, about systemic racism, about the history of oppression in this country. You will learn what it means to be a true ally, not just a performative one. She advanced to the next slide. Technology. We are implementing a new system I'm calling the Dignity Initiative. Every guest interaction from check-in to check-out will be recorded. Audio and video. Not to spy on our employees, but to protect them and to protect our guests. Every guest will also have access to a new app on their phone, an app that will allow them to report any instance of discrimination or harassment in real time. Those reports will go directly to me, not to a regional manager, not to a corporate HR department, but to my personal inbox. Marcus's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. It completely bypasses the chain of command. There's no way for anyone to cover anything up. Exactly, Amelia confirmed. Accountability. Every employee will be required to complete monthly anti-racism training. Guest satisfaction scores will be directly tied to bonuses and promotions. Any complaint of discrimination will trigger an immediate, independent investigation. She paused and looked out at the remaining guests in the lobby. To everyone who witnessed the events of this evening, she said, her voice now filled with a quiet, humble sincerity, I want to apologize. What you saw tonight is not who we are. It is not who we will be. The lawyer from Suite 4277 stood up. Ma'am, I've been staying at Pinnacle Hotels for 20 years. This is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. But I have to say, I'm damn impressed with how you're handling it. The elderly woman in the diamond necklace spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. I feel so ashamed. We just sat here and watched. We should have said something. Oh, part of our new Dignity initiative, Amelia replied, will be bystander intervention training for our staff and for our guests. We will empower people to speak up, to intervene, to be a part of the solution. She returned to her presentation. Community. The Pinnacle Hotel Group will be donating $100 million to the Equal Justice Initiative. We will also be partnering with local community organizations to create a new pipeline for minority talent in the hospitality industry. She pulled out a business card and handed it to Isabella, who was still streaming. This is Brian Stevenson. He will be our new community liaison. He will hold us accountable. He will make sure that our promises are not just empty words. Isabella looked at the card, then back at Amelia, her eyes wide with awe. Can I ask you something? She said, her voice a little shaky. On camera? Of course. How are you not screaming? How are you not filled with rage? Amelia considered the question for a long moment. Rage is a fire that consumes you, she said softly. I'd rather use that energy to build something new, something better, something that will last. She gestured to Chloe and Marcus. These two, they have a chance to be a part of that. Liam and Evelyn, they chose to be consumed by the fire. That's the difference. She looked at her watch. It was now 12:30 a.m. Chloe, your shift is officially over, but I'd like you to stay. Your retraining begins now. Yes, ma'am, Chloe replied, her voice filled with a new sense of purpose. Marcus, I need you to escort Mr. O'Connell and Ms. Reed from the premises. Then, we'll discuss your new role as the Director of Guest Advocacy. Understood, Marcus replied, a new sense of pride in his voice. Amelia addressed the remaining guests in the lobby. The Celestial Suite is now available, but to be honest, after the events of this evening, I think I'd rather spend the night here, in the lobby, with my new team. We have a lot of work to do. She closed her laptop and looked around the transformed space. The same chandeliers, the same marble floors, but everything felt different. The air was thick with the promise of change. Chloe, Amelia said, her voice a soft, encouraging whisper. Tell me about the Dignity Initiative. What does it mean to you? Chloe stood a little taller. It means that every single person who walks through these doors is a VIP, regardless of what they look like, what they're wearing, or how much money they have. It means that our job is to make people feel seen, to make them feel valued, to make them feel human. And if you see another employee treating a guest with disrespect, I will intervene, I will report it, I will not be a bystander." Amelia smiled. "That's exactly right. Marcus, your new role, what does it entail?" "I'm not just a security guard anymore," Marcus replied, his voice filled with a new sense of purpose. "I'm a protector. My job is to protect the dignity of our guests and to protect the integrity of our brand." "Excellent," Amelia said. "You both have shown more leadership in the last 10 minutes than Liam and Evelyn did in their entire careers." Isabella finally lowered her phone. "Ms. Voss," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and admiration, I have no words. What you did tonight, it was revolutionary." "What's your last name, Isabella?" Amelia asked. "Rossi. Isabella Rossi." "Isabella Rossi. Would you be interested in a job?" "I'm creating a new position in our corporate communications department, Director of Authentic Storytelling. We need someone who understands the power of social media, the power of a single voice to change the world." Isabella's jaw dropped. Are you serious?" "I'm always serious about talent," Amelia replied with a wink. The lobby of the Pinnacle Hotel, once a stage for a petty tyrant's cruelty, had been transformed into a classroom for a new kind of revolution. A revolution of dignity, of respect, of radical empathy. Amelia finally turned toward the elevators, her worn satchel slung over her shoulder. "Chloe, Marcus, I'll see you both at 7 a.m. We're going to rebuild this hotel from the ground up." As the elevator doors closed, Amelia allowed herself a small, weary smile. The Celestial Suite, with its panoramic views and its $10,000 a night price tag, could wait. Tonight she had a different kind of work to do. She was not just building a hotel empire. She was building a better world. 6 months later, the Pinnacle Hotel in New York City had a 4.9-star rating. Chloe Miller was the new assistant manager, greeting every guest with a warmth and sincerity that was now the hallmark of the brand. Marcus Thorne was the new director of guest relations, a beloved and respected figure among both staff and guests. Revenue was up 48%. Amelia stood in the lobby, in the exact spot where Liam O'Connell had once ground her credit card into the floor. A small, elegant plaque now marked the spot. It read, "In honor of the dignity of every human being." The Dignity Initiative had been rolled out to all 1,247 Pinnacle properties worldwide. There had not been a single discrimination complaint in the last quarter. The Pinnacle Restoration Project had become a case study at Harvard Business School, a model for a new kind of conscious capitalism. Amelia pulled out her phone and began to record a final message. "Discrimination is not a glitch in the system," she said, her voice a calm, steady beacon of hope. "It is the system, but we have the power to change it. We have the power to choose accountability over apathy, to choose courage over complacency, to choose love over hate." She looked directly into the camera, her eyes shining with a fierce, unwavering light. Share your stories of discrimination in the comments below. Tag the businesses that need to do better. Subscribe to our channel for more stories of transformation and triumph. Remember, your voice has power. Your story has power. Your dignity is not up for negotiation. The transformation of the Pinnacle was more than just a corporate turnaround. It was a testament to the power of one person to change the world. One courageous choice, one radical act of defiance, one unwavering belief in the fundamental dignity of every human being.